Patty. Fellow Rotarians and guests, I'm honored to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Dominic Glorioso, Medical Director of Palliative Medicine for the Pinnacle Health System in Harrisburg. Palliative care is defined as collaboration of medical, emotional, spiritual, and social efforts to support the highest quality of living at any stage of illness, including our last. I feel fortunate to serve with Dom and many other devoted community servants on the board of Friends for a York County Hospice Home, a grassroots organization with volunteers from diverse professions and backgrounds coming together to fill an unmet need in York, a home for end-of-life care. We've learned so much already about the need for a place where comfort care is provided as an extension of home and family. Instead of a nursing facility or hospital, this home will be exclusively dedicated to the end-of-life care through the support and collaboration with our 13 York County hospice providers. Dom's expertise and guidance has been invaluable to our progress in realizing this vision. He understands better than most that talking about and preparing our loved ones and ourselves for the end of life is often extremely difficult. However, his sensitive perspective and good humor often makes it easier for his patients to accept the journey. I'm certain that the majority of us in this room today have experienced the passing of a loved one. And some of us have been fortunate enough to have the support of an experienced doctor or caregiver who is not only knowledgeable, but also understands the benefit in supporting our dying loved one and our family. When my father passed away 3 years ago, our family was blessed to have a wonderful palliative care physician. This is Dr. Glorioso's work, which we will hear about and talk about today. I'm very pleased to welcome him to the Rotary Club of York.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Can everybody hear me? A couple things. Shout out to all the board members that are here today from the Friends for York County Hospice House. Can they stand up, please? Let's give them a hand. I've been involved with the agency for about 1.5 years. It's truly wonderful. I have a couple problems today. First, I was told it's not a good place to do PowerPoints. And there's one reason why doctors like to do PowerPoints is that you don't stare at me, you stare at the pretty pictures on the screen. So now everybody's staring at me. So I'm a little uncomfortable. The second thing is, this is a tough topic. I mean, I'd much rather come up here and pitch a ballpark or a library or something like that. But this is about death and dying and hospice and icky things and things that go bump in the night. And I hope I don't depress anybody. I'll try to do the best I can to explain this in terms that maybe won't sound so bad. Death is among us. You know, we will all die. That's something that people have to realize. I sometimes tease my medical students on rounds and I'll say, has antibiotics affected the death rate in this country, or has immunizations affected the death rate? And they'll kind of look at me and start to babble something. I'll say, no, it's still 100%. If it was 99.9%, this talk would be completely different. It's still 100%. And as far as I can see in the near future, that's not going to change, even though there's a lot of people that think it could. We all pass the anniversary of our death every year. We don't know what that date is. You know, it's in the negative numbers now. You know, maybe negative 20, 30. Hope a big number like that. But we pass that day once a year. That's something to be sober about. And, you know, for a while you can kind of hide from it, but eventually everybody will have a family member, somebody close, not just a cousin or somebody that's in another town, but somebody you live with. You know, it may be a parent, maybe a spouse, maybe even be a child. And what do we do with that person when they get to a point where medicine has nothing more to offer? And that's a tough one. That's a really, really tough one. We die differently than we did a couple hundred years ago. A couple hundred years ago, people had short illnesses, maybe an infection, maybe they were stabbed or shot by an enemy or in a duel. but usually had a pretty slow short dying process. Now people have chronic illnesses. What I tend to see on a daily basis is cancer, heart disease, lung disease, and dementia as the 4 big ones. There's other diseases as well, but they're the 4 big ones that I see every day. And I can tell you for the most part, people want to be home. Many studies have showed that. If you ask where do people want to die, they say I'd rather die in my own house, in my own bed. With my family and friends around, maybe my music playing that I like, maybe something cooking in the kitchen that I can smell. Maybe I haven't really been able to eat much, but just the smell of that food makes me feel good. But where do people die? Well, 50% of people die in this country in a hospital. Another 25 die in a nursing home. So then if you take out people that die when they're trying to give a speech and other people, that only leaves less than about 20% that actually do get to die at home. But these people come in, these people, that's a terrible way to put it. People come in, patients come in. Do you know where the word patient comes from? It means one who suffers, if you look it up. So patients will come in with their family, and the family wants to try to keep them at home, but somehow they've crossed that threshold where the care needed is above and beyond what they can do. And we'll try to say, well, what kind of care at this point do you want for your loved one? And they'll say, well, we no longer want a lot of aggressive things. We don't want blood work. We don't want a lot of tests. We just want to keep our loved one comfortable. And where can we do that at? And I always say sometimes that's the most difficult question of where do we do that at? The first place they'll say is, can we do it at the hospital? Well, the hospital's not meant to keep somebody comfortable, clean, safe, warm, dry, and fed. So they'll say, if we're no longer doing medical things, sometimes nasty medical things to people, you need to leave here, you can't stay. Well, then someone will say, well, what about a nursing home? My aunt stayed in a nursing home after she got in, Medicare paid for it. Well, again, Medicare paid for it only if there was a skill that was needed at that nursing home. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, antibiotics, maybe some kind of complicated wound care. If you're just putting somebody in a nursing home to keep them clean, comfortable, safe, dry, warm, and fed, that's called custodial care. And the nursing home won't pay, Medicare won't pay the nursing home to take care of you. You have to pay yourself. Well, then somebody will say, well, what about hospice? I hear hospice is a wonderful agency, and it is. I was a hospice director here in York for many years with the B&A, and it's a wonderful organization. And they'll say, those people will stay 24/7, right? Well, they don't. It's a team approach. It has a physician, usually the RN, registered nurses, who you'll see mostly at the house. They have LPNs or nurses' aides that can come several times a week, maybe to help with bathing and personal things. They have a chaplain. I always think, here's something with the government where they have to pay for a chaplain, for hospice to be able to function, to have a license. And they'll have a social worker. But again, it's going to be the family that keeps people comfortable, clean, safe, dry, warm, and fed. And that's a big task. It's not like hundreds of years ago where you had 4 generations of the same family living in a farmhouse. There's always somebody there. People have their own families. People have to work. People say, well, what do we do? What do we do to get somebody into the house? Well, if anyone ever asked you, if you ever need anything, call me. It's probably the time to make that call. But for many families, that's an impossible task. So that's why we're going to talk a little bit later, and I'll answer some questions, and a board member will answer questions about what we propose as a hospice house. Let me change up a little bit. You know what TED Talks are? What's TED stand for? It's not somebody's name. What's T? Technology. Very good. What's E?
Education.
Entertainment. And what's the D?
Design.
Design. So when we look, if we have to look at a paradigm of how dying people are treated in the United States, should we look at technology? Is that the way we're going to help people? And I got to say, really no. Because what does technology look at? It doesn't look at the patient, it looks at the disease. And that's the big problem. Would I surprise you if I stated that we spend 4 to 6 times more than any other country on patients at the end of life? Would I also surprise you that our numbers as far as quality of care, quality of life. There's even a quality of death index, and it sounds kind of odd, but they look at comfort at the time of death, they look at communication at the time of death, support for the family. We're in the middle. We're not last, but we're in the middle. All that money, and we still haven't kind of found a good way to do this with technology. Did anybody see the debate a couple weeks ago with Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders on CNN? There was a debate, and I don't want to be political, but Ted Cruz said something that really made me cringe a little bit. They were talking about health care, and he made a statement that in this country we put elderly patients in the intensive care unit, where in Europe they get palliative care involved, and we drug them up and tell them it's their time. It's kind of cringeworthy. So the fact that we don't live any longer, in fact we live less than any other of the industrialized countries, maybe tells you that maybe this aggressive care is not helping. You know, the fact that we don't live longer with all this type of technology. And I was kind of, I thought about a study. It's kind of the geek I am. I'm watching TV and I'm thinking of studies. It was done by a doctor, Jennifer Temmel, and another doctor, Vicki Jackson. And it was about 5 years ago. And it was at Mass General. And they looked at patients with stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer. What does all that mean? Stage 4 is the worst kind of cancer to get. It means it's metastasized, it's spread to other parts of the body. Non-small cell is what the doctor who looks under microscopes identifies as that. And they had 2 different groups. One was the regular group, where they saw the cancer doctor, the oncologist. Dr. Jennifer Temmel is an oncologist and a researcher. And I met her last week, and you know, I'm thinking, I've read this article, I've probably quoted it 1,000 times. What does a cancer researcher look like, female? And I kind of got this thing, Margaret Thatcher and Natasha Fatale, you know, this kind of thing. And here she's this, about maybe 4'11", long hair, young, I mean like incredibly young. So everybody was like talking to her, asking her like really serious questions. And I come up and I go, can I get a selfie with you? Wonderful, wonderful person. So she's an oncologist, so this is her study. 2 groups. The first group was regular care. They went to their cancer doctor, their oncologist, and maybe when they start having a symptom burden for their cancer. Maybe when chemotherapy was no longer wanted or tolerated, they saw the palliative care doctor that would help them. The other group started seeing the palliative care doctor within a month of their diagnosis. And they saw that doctor monthly. And they sometimes saw the patient with the doctor, with the oncologist. So they had a group visit with the oncologist. So what were the results of that study? 3 things stood out. One was the group that saw palliative care sooner, you know, during their disease, had a better quality of life. Some of that was physical symptoms were being better treated, you know, pain, shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting, constipation. But I think a lot of it was the support that palliative care gave to the person and to their family about what was going on. So that was something not unexpected, but it did show it in that study. Remember, it's the same palliative care doctors and the same oncologists. It's just how they were seen, the patients were seen. That was the only difference. The second thing was patients that had palliative care from early on were less likely to go to the hospital at the end of their life, less likely to be in an intensive care unit, less likely maybe to be even on chemotherapy towards their end of their life. Again, not that unexpected. The third thing was completely out of the blue. The patients on the palliative care group, those that saw the palliative care people from early on, lived 3 months longer. Lived 3 months longer with less technology. So technology is not the answer. What did we say E was? Entertainment? So I get to tell a joke now. And then I'll tell you about somebody else I met last week that was kind of fascinating too. So here's my favorite joke. Guy goes on vacation, he leaves his cat with his neighbor. I'm sorry, leaves his cat with his brother. Gets to his destination, calls his brother, says, how's my cat? Brother goes, your cat died. He goes, you don't know how to give people bad news. You should have said something like the cat was on the roof. Then you could have said you got the cat down, but it looked sick, so you were taking it to the vet. And then you could have said the vet was very concerned, so he kept the cat overnight. And then tomorrow when I called, you could have let me know that the cat died, but I would have been better prepared for it. You really got to do better on that. By the way, how's Mom? Glad you laughed. All right, so D is design. So what is design? How does that fit into when we talk about building a better end-of-life paradigm for the people in York County? So design is a way that humans deal with what they need. So we had to eat, so it's food, and then cuisine gets designed. We had to wear clothes, so then fashion gets to be the design. We had to have houses, so it's architecture. We had to have music and art so that we could have something to do besides kill each other. So design could be something used to look at this. And the reason I brought it up is that one of the speakers, last week I was at a Palliative Care conference. It was our national conference. It was in Phoenix. But one of the speakers was a guy named B.J. Miller. Did anyone ever see his TED Talk? Sure you did. So B.J. Miller, first of all, he had a kind of interesting life even before he got into this whole talk about end of life. When he was a college sophomore, him and a couple of his friends on a warm night decided it would be kind of cool to climb on top of a passenger train while it was stopped. And he was the first one up the ladder. He gets up to the top, puts his arms up, and gets 15,000 volts of electricity to his body. He spent months at St. Barnabas Burn Center up in Livingston, New Jersey. Came out of it, but without a left arm and losing both his legs. Went back to college, and at this point, he had died and had come back to life, and was trying to find what's the meaning of life. So first, he said he kind of majored in art, and he actually wound up going to medical school. And he became a physician. Guess what kind of physician he became? Palliative care, of course. So he started something called the Zen Hospice in San Francisco. And it was a hospice house, and we got to meet some of their people last year at a conference in Lansing, Michigan. It was the National Hospice Home Convention, and I was honored to be the keynote speaker there. And in his talk, and there are talks with the people there, they told us what they did. They designed a hospice house with the patient in mind and the family in mind. And little things like having a kitchen where you could bake cookies so that that patient maybe is not even eating anymore. Can we smell that? Things like having a safe place for kids to play so that if you bring your family, it's not like a hospital where everybody's kind of like standing there like this and nervous that they're going to get in somebody's way. Somewhere where families with children could relax. Even a ritual for when somebody dies there, that we don't just kind of sneak them out, on a litter, to an ambulance. Maybe we stop and maybe we have the people that are at the hospice house. Better did. How's that? My dad was deaf and I'm Italian, so I think it just popped louder. Can you see my hands? So even something as simple as having a little ritual when people do die and move on, rather than just smuggling the body out at night, to have a little ritual with the people that are there and the staff, a prayer, maybe a memory of that person. So with that in mind, that's how we're trying to look at our hospice house here in York. That it's going to be patient-centered. It's going to provide comfort, keep the person clean, safe, dry, warm, and fed. But we're also going to look to do more to help the patient and their family at this very tough time of life. Thank you, and if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.